All right, thank you. I'd like to call the meeting of the Finance and Audit Committee to order for April the 9th, 2024. Our first order of business will be the election of a committee chair. At our last meeting, it was noted that we had a vacancy. I was then elected to serve as committee chair until the vacancy was filled. Since that time, the new public member of our board, Member Dave Donaldson, was appointed by City Council. Member Donaldson was also appointed by the board to this committee. I would therefore like to open the floor to nominations for chair of this committee. Member Carr.
Yes, Chair Curry. I would like to nominate Member Donaldson to be the chair of this committee.
Thank you, Member Carr. I will second that nomination. Member Donaldson, congratulations. Chair Donaldson, I have to tell you right away that I have to leave this meeting. I have to go and present an award in the community. So unfortunately, I have to leave right away and I won't get to see you doing such a splendid job of chairing this committee, but I leave it in your capable hands. And I turn the meeting over now to you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Curry, and thank you, Member Carr. I'm more than happy to serve as chair. I'll now proceed with the land acknowledgement. I'd like to recognize that Ottawa is located on unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe host nation. The peoples of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe nation have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. The Ottawa Police Service Board honors the peoples and land of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. Today, Ottawa is home to approximately 40,000 First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Ottawa's Indigenous community is diverse, representing many nations, languages, and customs. The Ottawa Police Service Board honors all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. We're currently broadcasting on Zoom and live streaming on YouTube. Given this meeting is being held electronically, I want to caution that there is a possibility of technical difficulties. I will now proceed with confirmation of the agenda. Confirmation of agenda that the Ottawa Police Service Board Finance and Audit Committee confirm the agenda of the April 9th, 2024 meeting. Is the agenda confirmed?
Confirmed.
Confirmation of minutes that the Ottawa Police Services Board's Finance and Audit Committee confirm minutes number 24 of the 2nd February 2024 meeting. Are the meetings confirmed?
Minutes are confirmed, yes.
Okay. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? I should note for the record that there's an agenda item coming up on the in-camera session that I'm going to be asking for advice during the presentation of that particular agenda item to ensure that I do not have a potential conflict of interest. Items of business. The committee has received a report on the South Facility Project Update, first quarter 2024. I understand there's a staff presentation to accompany the report. Chief, I will turn this item over to you for the presentation, followed by questions from the committee.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome as the chair of the committee. Nice to have you on board. Deputy Chief Steve Bell and his facility team are in charge of South Facility construction. I'll turn it over to Deputy Bell for the presentation. Steve.
Yeah, thanks, Chief, and congratulations, Chair, on coming onto this committee. It's a busy committee, so we're happy to have you here. So I'm going to turn it over to Ingrid Pedersen, who will walk us through the South Facility. Just so you know, we report quarterly to the Finance and Audit Committee on the progress of the project, and we will do that through the completion of it anticipated in 2026. So with that, Ingrid, I'll turn it over to you to present your slide deck.
Great. Thank you, Deputy. And good afternoon, members. Thank you for having us again. As the Deputy mentioned, we are here again to report on the status of our project, the South Facility project, through to the end of Q1 2024. So Mike, next slide, please. So we will touch on, as we did before, the project status. We will take a look at the financial overview of the current state of the project, and we'll look at some of our targets that are coming up in Q2. Next slide. So since we last reported our project status, we have removed any information associated with the road modifications work, as that is fully complete and essentially closed. So on the dashboard, you can see that we've got phase B2 design, and we've progressed since the last quarter up to 25% complete, or essentially 25% complete. So we're well on target for that schedule. And the B2 would eventually be integrated into the into the construction of the facility, which is currently trending at 11% up to the end of Q1. What is new on the dashboard this time is the tenant fit up, and that is a new project stream. It is an extensive project stream that needs to initiate in this quarter, and we're about 1% into that activity. At the bottom, you can see some of the activities that were completed before. So we have, completed our excavation. We've done our site servicing. We are ongoing with our piling, and we have started to prepare for the foundations of the structure. As mentioned, the phase B2 project stream, we have finalized the functional program, and we are also complete our pre-planning activities to start the tenant fit up process. Current activities that are in flight, construction obviously continues. We are finishing our piling and our foundations as well. We have crane installations taking place. The first of the 2 cranes is on site and erect, and we are in the process of standing up the second crane. For phase B2, where we are still in design, we'll be moving to the schematic design process, and we'll be seeking approval and finalization of those schematic designs before we start moving on to the actual design development. And then with tenant fit up, we're going to start bringing our consultants on board, and we're going to formalize the initiation of that project. Next slide.
Ingrid, for Chair Donaldson's perspective, can you explain to him what B.2 is compared to the overall regular project or the initial project?
Thank you.
Sure. So our project is consisting of essentially 3 phases. So we have phase A and B.1, and all aspects of that project have been designed and tendered and are currently under construction. So phase A includes the entire site development and the building structure core and shell, as well as the interiors of our occupants for phase A and B.1. And B.2 was brought to the table in 2023, and it's the top floor of the 3-story facility and is intended to be occupied primarily by corporate support services within OPS. So we are presently in the process of designing the interiors of that space with the objective of finalizing the design towards the fall of this year and integrating into the construction, which would be at such a state that we are well positioned as the building starts to be enclosed and we start developing the interior construction. So we're well positioned to bring phase B2, the top floor, into that interior construction. Okay, next slide, please. So taking a look at our financials for this quarter. So we have progressed a little bit in terms of making some adjustments to the project budget simply by performing the activities of reallocating the funds as we identified we would as part of the 2024 budget. So that's where you see our project budget at 193 million. For the quarter ending in December 31st, we have spent or committed 137 million, and therefore we have approximately 56 million available, uncommitted, unspent within the project at this time, within the project budget. And that value is required to have delegated authority by the chief for any contracts that exceed $500,000. So for Q1 2024, we just have a small increase to our spent and committed, about $425,000. And those contracts are primarily smaller contracts. There were no contracts that needed to go for delegated authority, but the smaller ones include third-party testing and inspections that went to Cleland Jardine and the Patterson Group. So Cleland Jardine has been contracted to do building envelope inspection as we construct the shell of the the facility. And the Patterson Group has been contracted for geotechnical or soil inspections and testing, as well as pile vibration monitoring as we continue with our piling activities on site. Next slide, please. So activities that we anticipate coming up in Q2 of 2024. So we will be finishing our piling. As mentioned before, we're going to complete the crane installations, and those cranes are going to be used because of the length of the building, not the height, but because of the length, the cranes are used to move around a lot of the heavier material on the site. So for example, the buckets of concrete, as well as the steel that is used to facilitate the structure as well. So that's what our cranes are going to be used for. So if you drive past, you'll see one is already there and the second one is about to be installed. So as mentioned before, we're going to finalize the schematic design and then move into the actual design development, which is actually the construction documentation. So in the next 3 months, we anticipate that we will achieve 66% completion of all those construction documents, which include the full contract documents and specifications. And then with the tenant fit up, we'll be initiating that project and procuring the consultants to support those activities. And the tenant fit up will take us through to the end of 2026. And that concludes our presentation. The next slide is just a couple of images of what is happening on site. So our site roadways is essentially what will become the actual drive pathways for entry points to the site. And then we just have a couple of images of some of the materials that are on site that are used to provide the utilities and services, as well as you can see the piles that are going to be used for the structural support of the facility. Thank you.
Thank you. An extremely interesting development. Are there any questions? Member Carr.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a couple questions. Ingrid, thank you very much for the presentation. With respect to the project status slide, you spoke about the dashboard. The dashboard is just, that's a copy and paste sort of on the slide, those three little graphs. Do you have a more comprehensive dashboard that the project updates on a regular basis?
So we do have monthly status reports that are internal within the OPS, and they update that dashboard mostly in terms of the three major streams that are happening with the project. But this one that we're representing is to the end of March or Q1 of 2024. Okay,
but so you have a regular project dashboard that updates sort of on like the scope, the cost, all of those big elements. Are you identifying, like, what are the major issues and risks at the, like the top three risks at this time for the South Facility project?
So some of the risks are what are unknown. So as we're excavating, we are discovering soil conditions and for example, there was previous structural supports for a facility that used to exist on the site. So that was not able to be identified through the design of the documents and going into construction. So as they're excavating, they're finding these things. And so we're mitigating that through project change orders, that those piles or those structural supports need to be removed in order for us to bring our piles in as well. So those translate into small risk identifiers associated with the schedule and the budget. But because of the way that the project is being managed and with a contractor, they're able to eliminate those risks to the schedule and the budget, because the construction budget or the construction purchase order contains a contingency, which is a percentage of the total construction value. So right now, although our budget, is going to be, we'll be using the contingency, it's not necessarily at risk. So we continue to monitor as those unknowns present themselves to the project to make sure that we can mitigate through schedule and budget as well.
Yeah, great, thanks. Sorry, and I think you told me last time the class of estimated with, but you've got like a contingency of plus or minus 15% or so on there, right?
Correct, yeah.
Just a quick question on the second slide on the financial overview. You spoke about the contract for the inspections. So specifically, like, are they also looking at, is there substantial completion of each of the stages? Like what exact of each element, what exactly are they? If you could describe a little bit more about what they're doing, that would be helpful.
So some of the additional contracts that are being issued?
What specifically the contract that was issued? You said there's a bunch of little ones within that, like, and that they're looking at inspections, but you know, is it testing? Is it like determining if it's substantial completion of each stage? Like what, if you could just give me at a high level some of the examples, that would be great.
Sure. So as the building is being constructed, so we bring in a third party independent from the general contractor to make sure that they are constructing to the contract documents. And for example, a building envelope inspection, you have various layers to construct your exterior partition. So you're making sure that things like insulation are being installed as per the contract documents, or that the structural loading and the identified formulas, that the test results are meeting what has been identified in the contract document. So you're bringing in that third party to validate the reports that are being produced by the general contractor. So another one may be also one of the smaller contracts, which is not necessarily a validation of construction, but is used to support project progress. The contractor is looking at, has installed a camera on site that is looking at progress on a regular basis. So that is a closed view that we have accessible only to the project, but it's a way to monitor progress on site. So if you're remote from the site, but you're checking in to make sure that our contractors there are performing the activities as per the prescribed schedule as well. And so we also have as well invoicing from the general contractor. And when they produce that document, they identify, for example, materials delivered to site associated with piles are complete to 100%. So our project team reviews all of that as those invoices come in to manage the schedule and the budget as well.
Excellent. So the project team sort of ensures that there's sort of that independent third party oversight on certain elements as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Carr. Apologies, and I'll try and not use the newbie kind of reference too often. I'm just curious, as far as a project of this magnitude, when we're dealing with contractors, are we looking at fixed cost or cost plus, or is there a variation of both?
So it was if I can take that question, Deputy. So it was a lump sum bid as per city procurement guidelines, and we measured against our internal consultants who provided a Class A estimate. So it's a simple lump sum bid for the full value.
And it is a Class A estimate.
Correct. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Are there any further questions? Hearing none, is the item received?
Received.
Okay. Is there any other public business? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn our public meeting and move in camera at this time to discuss a contract matter.
I guess that would be up to me, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we're sort of limited. Okay. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Our next meeting will be held on June 14th at 10 a.m. and we'll now move to the in-camera